Hello, so we are here at Vacheron Constantin for a very nice afternoon, together with the one and only, can I say that, Nick Foulkes.
Except no substitutes.
And we will have a talk about something that we spoke about some months ago, which is segmenting designs at Vacheron Constantin.
Mm-hmm. I think we first of all need to explain what the segmenting design is. It's marketing speak for basically impossible to sell, isn't it?
We could say it like that, but I think this is also a very interesting representation of the creativity of Vacheron Constantin.
For me, yes. I mean, for me, as I think one of the early advertisements from the 70s put it, the Vacheron wearer doesn't want to be like everyone else. But for me, that is the beauty of these watches, is that I'm not going to see them elsewhere. I actually don't want necessarily to wear what everybody else is wearing.
Yes, it's true.
Out of personal sort of reverse snobbery or whatever, but also because what it takes to make these watches is quite special, either from a creative point of view or from the application of various techniques. You know, and these are unique little works of art rather than kind of industrially produced objects.
I agree with you. I remember when I joined Vacheron Constantin in the early 90s, I had in my mind the image of Vacheron Constantin watches as very, round, elegant, white gold with a lapis lazuli watch face.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised when I took over the heritage department. I was really blown away by the diversity of the creations of the brand. Let's say from the 30s until the 70s, and this is how we have built this selection of watches. And it would be lovely that you gave us your comments about this selection.
I mean, for me, it's the fact that they probably were. I mean, some of them I think were more commercial than others. I wonder if we should pick perhaps the least commercial design. I would probably say this one would be my least commercial design. What would your least commercial design be? Actually, no, hang on, it would be this, wouldn't it?
That could be a great candidate, yes.
Yeah.
But okay, let's take this one, yeah.
I mean, let's both go for that one, because I think this is a great watch, and this is the one I would like to own most. And this is what I will be petitioning Louis Ferlat to bring back for the Salon.
We will pass him the suggestion. He will be certainly very, very interested.
I know he will be. And I know he'll be delighted as well, because it's going to sell like hotcakes.
If you say it so, then it must be true.
Yeah, I mean...
No, I think it's great that you choose the Prestige de la France, the trapeze.
It's a great design. Yeah. It's probably the last great design of the old Vacheron period, I think, in terms of really capturing something of the spirit of the times.
Very true, very true. And it's interesting that you choose that watch, because on the whole selection, I think my favorite one is that one, which is also Prestige de la France, and that one being a kind of dual time version of the Prestige de la France. So I'm really happy that we are both appreciating.
We are both men of taste.
Thank you so much.
But for me, I mean, I would prefer to have a single time zone in this case, in this treatment, because for me that's just a touch too small. But it is definitely a man's watch, because it's actually big on my wrist.
And what a fantastic bracelet too.
The bracelet is extraordinary, and I mean, you can see it's. Well, I mean, obviously it's a one-off, because it's. I think it's the definition of uncommercial. But I mean, they've tried to chuck on every conceivable decorative treatment, with the exception perhaps of the sort of Milanais-Polonais bracelet. You've got gem setting, you've got micro mosaic, you've got use of semi-precious stones, you've got this amazing closure with the godron, huge, and then you have this unique sort of, I suppose is it leather, I suppose, with gold stitching. I mean, it's
a combination of leather and gold, and it's totally unusual.
It's the most extraordinary thing, and I'll be traumatized when I have to give it back to you.
Thank you so much, Nick. One other timepiece I would, if you agree, I would like to talk about is that watch that when I met you yesterday evening, I was wearing that watch, and you immediately gave me some comments about that one. I think this one is highly spectacular.
I mean, look at the way it catches the light. I mean, both our single viewer on the internet will no doubt be delighted. Is it a watch, a niche watch, I wonder?
I think this is another example of well, the creativity of watch designers in the 60s, because probably there is the researching of a shape within a shape in a very unusual way.
Well, I mean, just simple things like everything has been kind of, how can we make this different? You know, the hour marker is being placed longitudinally, latitudinally rather than longitudinally. This sort of almost kind of shield-like shape.
Yes, it is. Have you seen this kind of design into another brand?
I've seen shape within a shape stuff before.
Yes,
I've not seen, and I've seen treatment. I mean, I love, for example, this kind of bark treatment. There was an English goldsmith and jeweler called Andrew Gremer, who in the 60s and 70s made a real difference in jewelry by using a lot of semi-precious stones and by using textured gold. Okay. So either hammered or otherwise treated, you know.
Which was something that was pretty much in fashion during the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah, he was one of the progenitors of that style.
All right.
And this is a very sophisticated Genevois interpretation of a prevailing aesthetic. It's the kind of watch that it's unambiguously chic. And I mean, seeing it last night on the wrist, the impact was far greater than any photograph would suggest.
I fully agree. And I was surprised to see how large this watch is from a 1965 timepiece. Well, it's not that large.
It's not that large, and I mean, also you forget that there were, in terms of things like sports watches, that was the time of slightly larger sports watches.
True.
It wasn't, I mean, they weren't becoming as huge as they became up until about 10 years ago, but there were larger watches, you know, with case dials. So, I mean, this was certainly on the larger side for the time, but not, I don't think, out of the ballpark. But, I mean, this is exceptional.
Great. Would you like to comment this one, which is from 1964, a year which is important for you?
Which is important for me, which is my birth year. I didn't pick it for that. I picked it for the fact that it's an example for me of how Vacheron revisits designs from its past. This one appeared in '37 with the push-up center. So I'm not going to do it on this one because it'll break it. But
thank you so much.
It was hinged here, so you could use it as a little bedside clock.
Absolutely.
And in a way that I think this is probably a more resolved finish. I think a more resolved design.
And I think also what is interesting in this design from 1964 is the fact that they were using the caliber 1003, the ultra thin caliber.
Yeah, one of my favorites, 1955.
1.64 millimeter thick, which gives to the watch a very sleek profile.
It's the watch that I have. I've got another shaped watch. I've got the hexagonal one in yellow gold, and it's a great watch to wear because it is so low profile. And the caliber I love. I mean, it's a caliber that 55, it was the 200th anniversary, wasn't it?
Absolutely, you're right. When we have seen the watches, and in your selection, you have a special taste for this one, which is highly segmenting or surprising.
Yeah.
And we really wonder what was the idea behind this design, because it's so different and so disruptive.
I hate the term disruptive, but yes.
Why do you hate it?
Because it's entered the kind of pantheon of the lexicon, rather, of rubbish that marketing people speak. It's got to be disruptive in a storytelling way with dynamic activation around the emotional touch points, perhaps.
So we'll forget about the disruptive term.
Well, maybe, but there could be plenty of storytelling and animation around it.
I'm sure, Nick.
Yes, you do sort of dial animation. I mean, look, it speaks for itself. I don't understand what it's saying, but it speaks for itself.
And within the selection, which ones, with others, would you like to comment especially?
I mean, we'll come to those disco oddities, I think.
This is really something very particular.
It's something that's brilliant and terrible at the same time. It's brilliant because, had they made it in the 70s, it would have been brilliant. Yeah. It was just made 10 years too late, in my opinion.
I see what you mean.
I wanted to wear this to Studio 54, and I think the studio had closed by the time that they made this watch. What is great about it is this insane bracelet. The shape is fantastic. Asymmetric again, the definition of segmenting in that most people wouldn't necessarily go for it. Cartier did some with, I think, considerable success. The Cartier London in the 60s did the best ones, I think, 60s and 70s. But the bracelet here is superb. What did we decide it was? Polonais with a rolled finish, or was it Milanais? I forget.
So we think we'd rather go for Milanais type, which has this very particular finish.
Yes, because that one I thought was a Polonais. This one.
Yes, this one is based on a Polonais.
Yeah.
Polonais mesh. Yeah,
but both surfaces have been treated, so you don't have the straightforward, familiar mesh bracelet. What you have here is almost like a kind of fish skin texture to it, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic.
So we were talking.
It's silk. I mean, it's I mean, it's the tactility that I adore about this, and just to feel that is.
And as you know, there was unfortunately there was a tradition in Geneva for chain makers.
The chainiste. I mean, it was.
And these are two nice examples.
This is a perfect example for me. I mean, I'm really saddened that these sorts of watches, these sort of straps, are not made anymore, because it's a work of applied art. You know, it's where craft takes on an aesthetic dimension that becomes more than just a job well done. It becomes something. It becomes an imaginative creation, which I believe is the beginning of a definition of a work of art.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
You know,
and it's just fantastic to wear on your wrist.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to wear, and it's something that is. I mean, I would love to see this made today. Again, that has to go on the list of things we've got to remake for the next SIHH. Yeah. I see you're going to have a highly profitable fair if you follow all my directions.
Yeah, a lot of work until next year.
Yeah,
I'd like also maybe to come to the watches of your selection, and that watch, which is the oldest of the selection, from 1937. What did you like especially in this design?
I like the size. I mean, it's the size of a small postage stamp, and yet it has got so much crammed into it in terms of aesthetics. Everything from the shape of the hands. The dial design is extraordinary, and it mirrors the case design, and the lug, the single lug fitting at either side, is again something that is just really pleasing. I mean, for me, this is the watch I would like to wear, as we discussed, on that sort of cord type strap. Yes. But I mean, I think there's something terribly elegant for a man about a watch this size. The actual time-telling area, the face of the watch, is the size of an aspirin, a large aspirin. And yet it's, I mean, let's have a look. I mean, it's a tiny thing, okay?
You should try.
And let's just see. I mean, it's a small watch, but the impact of it, I'm sure, is considerable. Yeah, I mean, look at that. I think that is so chic. Again, you should bring these back.
Yeah, I think the size is really excellent. I mean, it's so elegant on the wrist. Yeah.
And if you look at all the movie stars of the sort of golden era pre-war Hollywood, they would all be wearing watches like this. I mean, it's just so chic. It's amazing. I mean, it's a thing of real. We
don't have a lot of information about that timepiece, but it would be interesting to know what was it really a designer's watch, a kind of designer's watch, or was it a unique piece? So we are very
because the case makers would come and sell, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
So the case maker would come with a series of designs, and the watchmakers would select
them. Yeah.
It's a question of the fournisseur as much as the. I mean, obviously the house has to have the imagination to see something in there, but it's a very radical design.
But I'm thinking about a designer's watch.
Yeah.
Because I think that the integration of the dial within the whole design is so perfect.
Yeah.
So probably it was thought really to be, married together.
Yeah. I mean, if either somebody had a dial for which they wanted a case, but I think probably more likely is they were instructed to design a dial that would be in harmony
with the case.
With the case, and it's got that shape-in-shape thing again, a characteristic that we see 30 years later with this.
Absolutely. So that one is also from 1937.
Again, highly advanced, again, highly idiosyncratic.
And so, again, a great.
Do you see what I mean again about a slight angle on it, or recalling almost the driver's watches? You've got something. No, it's unique. But I think I mean, some of these. There's not one of these I wouldn't really want, to be honest.
Thank you very much, Nick, for sharing with us this this selection of Vacheron Constantin watches from the 30s to the 80s. And of course, it was absolutely fantastic to hear your precious comments on the selection. So a million thanks again.
No, thank you for asking me. And when this is relaunched, I expect to have number 1.
It makes sense, really. Yeah.
I think there should be an online poll to campaign for its relaunch.
That's an interesting idea.
I think it would
about
have great traction, as they say in marketing circles.
I'm sure. Yes.
Anyway, thanks a lot for asking me, and thanks to everybody for
Our pleasure.
just making those fascinating archives available again. I mean, it's great to see these pieces.
Thank you.